Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got a lot of broken updates today. So the first news today is coming from Russia, where we've got news that Putin will not attend the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro. The Russian delegation will instead be led by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, according to Russian media. So allegedly Putin decided to skip the G20 summit to avoid disrupting its smooth progress. So instead, the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will be taking Putin's place in attending the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So interesting news. We've also gotten some news coming from Russia that Rosso Export, a military exporter in Russia, reported the first contacts for the export version of the Su-57. So the company's CEO, Alexander Mishev, noted a high-level interest in the fifth-generation fighter jets among countries around the world. So maybe soon Russia will be exporting its very own Su-57s to countries like probably Kazakhstan or something, or other countries around in the Caucasus, maybe Azerbaijan or Armenia. So interesting news. We've also received news coming from Crimea that a terrorist attack has occurred in Sevastopol in Crimea. So a car exploded in Shnevko Street in Sevastopol. The driver inside was killed and they were unable to save the man. So according to information we have, so a car was exploded in Sevastopol, so someone planted a bomb. So the man inside of the car was a captain of the first rank of the Black Sea Fleet, according to Russian media. So the investigative committee does not rule out this could have been a sabotage, but it's been noted as a terrorist attack. So interesting news, and I'll keep you updated if there's any more information that comes to light about that terrorist attack. We've also got news coming from Ukraine that France has announced that it will send 6 Mirage 2000 fighter jets to Ukraine at the start of 2025, doubling the initial plan of 3 fighter jets. So instead of 3 fighter jets France was going to send, it's going to be sending 6 Mirage 2000 fighter jets. So interesting news. We've also got news that the ambassador of Albania and Greece have commenced their work in Ukraine, signaling strengthened diplomatic ties. The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, highlighted the positive relationship and the significance of cooperation between Albania and Greece. He acknowledged that Greek officials previously visited Odessa with a restoration initiative plan and expressed hope that Greece might join other countries in taking support on Ukraine's regions. So interesting news. We've also got news that the commanders of the Ukrainian and Danish navies met in Odessa and discussed bolstering defense in the Azov Black Sea region. Key topics included cooperation on missile systems, surface and underwater drones. We've also got news that the UK could provide troops to Ukraine if the US cuts aid. So this was stated by the former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson. So according to him, if the US completely ceases all support to Ukraine in Trump's administration, the UK could provide troops to Ukraine, according to Boris Johnson. We've got news that NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte emphasized the importance of continued support for Ukraine and strengthening transatlantic unity in an address directed at the incoming US administration ahead of discussions with the French President Macron, according to Reuters. So the NATO Secretary Mark Rutte highlighted the need to escalate measures against the Russian aggression and called for an increased assistance to Ukraine to shift the conflict course. He pointed out the potential threats posed by military aid from North Korea and Iran to Russia, adding that China supports Russia's economy, which enhances its defense industry and bolsters its global narrative. The alliance between Russia and North Korea, Iran and China endangers not only Europe, but also peace and stability in the Indo-Pacific and North American regions, Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General, stated. We've also gotten some more statements coming from NATO, but this one was a bit concerning. So we've gotten some statements coming from the NATO Military Committee Chair, Rob Bauer. So according to Rob Bauer, the NATO Military Committee chair, he stated that if Russia didn't have nuclear weapons, we would already be there, pushing them out of Ukraine. So, very concerning statements. So, interesting news. I'll keep you updated on that. The next news is coming from Poland. So we've got some news that the EU has approved Poland's application for a $10 billion pandemic recovery funds. So the EU has just is going to transfer Poland $10 billion in COVID-19 recovery funds apparently. So Poland said that it expects this $10 billion in funds to be transferred by the end of the year. And now let's head to Germany. We've got news that Germany will head to the polls on February the 23rd after the collapse of Chancellor Scholz's coalition party. So the German federal elections are going to be taking place on February the 23rd next year. So elections will be taking place in Germany due to Chancellor Scholz's party actually collapsing. So interesting news. We've also got news that the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz stated in the Parliament of Germany that I am proud that Germany handles its money well, and his statement provoked laughter in the German Parliament. So a lot of people laughed at him in the speech when he announced that he was proud that Germany handles its money well. Now let's head to Amsterdam, the capital city of the Netherlands. So more chaos has erupted in Amsterdam. The Dutch mounted police tried to drive out thousands of pro-Palestine protesters, social media reported. The police made multiple arrests as the crowd got out of control. So there's been huge clashes between the police and locals in Amsterdam who were protesting about the Israeli and Gaza war, which is currently happening. We've got some news come from Macron from France. So the French President Macron announced that France will double its military budget to build European security independent of America. So the French president has just announced that France will first double its military budget, and it's going to be doing this just because it wants a European security independent from America. So I'll keep you updated on that. And now let's go to the UK, where we've got news that the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to urge the US President Joe Biden to release $20 billion of the $50 billion loan pledged by the G7 countries for Ukraine. According to The Telegraph, Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister, plans to raise the matter during the G20 summit in Brazil, aiming to secure the loan's disbursement, which would be repaid using profits from the frozen Russian assets. We've also got reports that also notes that Keir Starmer intends to seek approval for Ukraine to conduct long-range strikes against Russia, emphasizing the need for continued and strengthened support before former President Donald Trump potentially returns to office. So, interesting news. We've gotten some sideline news coming from Scotland. So, an entire uninhabited island in Scotland has been put up for sale for £125,000. So, the island name is Aline Loch Oscar, which covers an area of about 4 hectares and is mostly inhabited by seals and otters and various other animals, and is called for an ideal place for breeding animals and fishing and farming. So this uninhabited island has gone on up for sale. So I'm just giving you a heads up if anyone wants to buy an island in Scotland. There you go. It's just here, and it's worth and it's going on auction for £125,000. So there you go. We've also gotten some news coming from Serbia that the Russian gas rejectors will repent. So this was stated by Serbia's president Alexander Vučić. So the Serbian president predicts that the US will eventually stop exporting LNG, forcing countries that relied on it to come back to Moscow cap in hand. So Alexander Vucic, the Serbian president, believes that when the Trump administration comes into power and potentially stops oil and energy to Europe, apparently, according to the Serbian president, the Western countries will come cap in hand to Russia for energy and natural gas. So, interesting news. Now let's head to Turkey. So we've got news that Turkey has cut ties with Israel, the Turkish President Erdogan announced. He stated that as the state and government of the Republic of Turkey, we have severed relations with Israel. At the moment, we have no relations with Israel, he empathized. So Turkey right now has no apparently diplomatic relations with with Israel, and will continue not to have so. So interesting news. We've also got news that Turkey has received an offer to become a BRICS partner country. The BRICS Trade Minister of Turkey has announced. So Turkey has just received an offer to become a BRICS partner country, and maybe later it will become a full BRICS nation. We've also got some news coming from Azerbaijan that the Russian Prime Minister Mushtin meets with the Azerbaijani President Aliyev on the sidelines of the COP29 held in Baku. So the full results of their meeting is still not out yet, but we've got news that the Russian Prime Minister has met with the Azerbaijani President, and on the sidelines of that meeting, the Russian Prime Minister also had a meeting with the UN chief. So interesting news. We've also received news coming from Qatar. So Qatar has reportedly asked Israel to refrain from killing Hamas leaders on its territory. So this is an actual statement coming from the government of Qatar. So it has urged Israel to refrain from killing Hamas leaders on its territory. So interesting news. And probably one of the biggest news come today is coming from the Red Sea and from Yemen. So we got on news that the Yemeni Houthis claimed that they targeted a US aircraft carrier, Abraham Lincoln, in the Red Sea. So the Yemeni armed forces carried out a huge operation that lasted for 8 hours in the Arabian and Red Seas, during which they targeted the American aircraft, the USS Abraham Lincoln, and 2 destroyers with drones and cruise and ballistic missiles. According to the Yemeni armed forces, the operation prevented an aggression on Yemen, and it might have just done the opposite. So we've gotten some videos here coming from the Red Sea. If you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see American fighter jets now taking off near Yemen, which they'll most likely be striking Yemen. So it seems that it has done the opposite. Alright, now let's head to Syria, which apparently did not add on the map. But we've gotten a video here in the bottom left corner. We can see a US A-10 close air support aircraft, allegedly actually striking Iranian-backed groups in Syria yesterday. We've also got some news coming from China. So this is the interesting news that I would like to talk about. So the Chinese 6th generation fighter jet concept mock-up was displayed in Zhuhai Air Show 2024. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see this new apparently fighter jet, which obviously it's not in production or anything. This is a mock-up. It's a concept, it's a mock-up that was displayed at the Zhuhai Air Show. We can see here it's an interesting design that was produced by the Chinese Armed Forces, and apparently this could be the 6th generation fighter jet of China. So I'll keep you updated on that. We've also gotten some news that China has unveiled its new robot dog. So China has unveiled the new robot dog, which is now equipped with a multi-barreled minigun. So very interesting news. And China has also unveiled its new wheeled robot by China's DEEP Robotics. So if you can see here, it's a wheeled robot dog, which actually seems to perform quite well, which I'm very surprised about. Now let's head to Japan. We've got news that the Japanese Prime Minister fell asleep in Parliament right during the vote for his re-election for another term as Prime Minister. At the end, he woke up again as Prime Minister because he was re-elected, but the Japanese Prime Minister has been re-elected in Japan, but he did fall asleep in Parliament right before the voting. So, interesting news. Now let's head to Chile. So we've got news that the firefighting helicopter was downed by a high voltage wire in Chile. So if we can see here in bottom left corner, we can see a Bell 205 helicopter battling forest fires in Chile. But there was an incident that happened on the November the 12th near this exact city village here, where the pilot, when the helicopter actually hit something, it seems to be a high voltage wire, which actually made the helicopter crash. Don't worry, the pilot actually escaped with minor injuries, so he's alive, and surprisingly, he had minor injuries, according to the Chile authorities. So, interesting news. We've got some news coming from Argentina. That's inflation in October in Argentina was 2.7. Argentina is no longer the first in inflation in South America now, and now it is Venezuela with 9.6%. So Argentina has completely, it seems that it has completely reduced its inflation in Argentina, so it's now at 2.7%, and it's no longer the first inflation country in South America. It is now Venezuela. We've got some news coming from Haiti. I'm pretty sure I get mixed up. Haiti. So an American Spirit airline flight, flight 951 from Florida to Haiti. So there was a big incident that happened where gang members actually struck this plane, this American Spirit airline plane, with gunfire while attempting to land. The flight attendant on board suffered minor injuries, but no passengers were harmed. So gang activity in Haiti has surged up, it seems, in the capital. And the last news today is coming from America, where we've gotten some huge news. So Trump has just announced Elon Musk will lead the Department of Government Efficiency, so the DOGE. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, statements from the President Donald J. Trump. He has now announced Elon Musk will lead the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. We've also got news that Trump officially names the US Senator Marco Rubio as the Secretary of State. So Marco Rubio is now the new Secretary of State of America, which in the Trump administration. So starting from the 20th of January, Marco Rubio will take the place of, I think, Anthony Blinken, which Marco Rubio will become the new Secretary of State of America. So he was one of the 15 Republican senators who voted against the 61 billion military aid packages for Ukraine, and he also said that Ukraine needs to sit down at the negotiating table with Russia. We've also got news that Trump has also announced a new Secretary of Defense. So the new Secretary of Defense of America is Pete Hegseth. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, this is apparently Trump's new Secretary of Defense in the Trump administration, Pete Hegseth. So he stated in an interview, which I managed to find, that he stated that China's hypersonic missiles can destroy all the US aircraft carriers in 20 minutes. China is apparently building an army specifically dedicated to destroying the United States. In every war game conducted by the Pentagon, the US loses to China. And Trump's new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, he stated that we should not have women in combat roles. It has not made us more lethal. Men in these positions are traditionally more capable than women. So Trump's Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, is very opposed in women in combat zones. And we can probably see, I don't know, a ban or something, I don't know. So, but that's actually all the news I actually have for you today. I am Monsignor News. I'll try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so consider subscribing and liking. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye.